To some more continuing coverage here on Nightside. Today, the Rapides Parish District Attorney's Office announced that it will not bring charges against the two law enforcement officers that were involved in separate shooting incidents that happened late last year. Alex Ornchuk has those details.
The Rapides Parish District Attorney stated in two separate letters on Thursday that no charges will be brought against either officer involved in two separate shootings that took place late last year. The first shooting took place on November 6th when Rapides Parish Sheriff's Deputy Rodney Anderson pulled over 45-year-old Derek Kittling on 7th Street. Body camera footage of the interaction shows Deputy Anderson giving Kittling commands before an altercation ensues and the men end up wrestling over the deputy's taser on the ground. The altercation ending when Deputy Anderson shoots and kills Kittling. The other shooting happened on November 24th when an Alexandria police officer responded to a report of a man, 34-year-old Jason Shackelford, running in the traffic on Rapides Avenue. The officer finds a very agitated Shackelford at a nearby home before the two begin to fight. Louisiana State Police shared that Shackelford gained control of the officer's baton and began choking the officer from behind with it. The officer then fires several shots with his gun, eventually hitting Shackelford and ending the altercation.
He shot me!
Shackelford survived and was treated for his injuries. He's now facing several charges, including attempted first-degree murder of a police officer. Louisiana State Police investigated both cases. The Rapides Parish District Attorney Philip Terrell said in his decision that life and well-being of the law enforcement officers were threatened in the discharge of their routine duties, adding that the actions were, quote, justified. Terrell wrote that no criminal responsibility can be found for either officer as they, quote, legally exercise their right to self-defense and self-preservation.
Consequently, no criminal charges, no probable cause of criminal responsibility could be found to present to a grand jury.
Civil rights attorney Ron Haley, who represents the Kittling family, and defense attorney Christopher LaCour, who represents Shackelford, were both disappointed with the DA's decision.
We're definitely disappointed in the district attorney's decision not to present a case to the grand jury. You should not be able to get the protection to use that type of force when you are the aggressor. We believe that Deputy Anderson was the aggressor in this case.
Mr. Shackelford was clearly agitated, whether it be to mental illness, maybe drug use, we don't know. But you also saw an officer antagonize an already agitated situation. That doesn't justify what Mr. Shackelford did, but clearly that officer's training failed him in that moment.
In Alexandria, Alex Ornchuk, News Channel 5, your local station.
And Haley told us that he will be filing a civil suit against the sheriff's office soon. We'll keep you updated with any new developments.